Dustin Young, Loam Roamer, and today we are going to install Rago Fabrication's 5th Gen 4Runner window storage panels that go in the rear of the vehicle at the rear windows, and the shelf storage system that they have all at one time. So that means that some parts aren't going to get used. Actually, I think just one set of parts are not going to get used from this panel system, because you need these heavy duty brackets that they provide. I've got everything laid out. The shelving is below since it'll be last, but I've got everything laid out to begin the install. To give you an idea, you're gonna use 5 mil. So with the parts that come with the panels, because they changed bolts for the shelving, there's some differences to note. You're gonna need a 5 mil hex for the bolts, and you're going to need a 10 mil box end wrench for the nut system. I have a long and a short Phillips. You need a Phillips screwdriver, flathead for popping some plastic apart. I got some power tools as a just in case. I need to get some things done instead of using a hand socket for it, all 3/8 stuff. Now on the storage shelving, they changed the nut to button heads, the bolt to button heads in the nut. So what you end up with is a 4mm and or 5/32. So they're roughly identical. So if you don't have metric, you can use a 5/32 on this. And then what is a 7/16 nut? So you're gonna need 7/16 box end, and I'm gonna use a 4 because I thought when I was testing the 4 mil was tighter. And then I've laid out all the parts left and right. I've got my 2 brackets for when the shelf goes in, the spacers for spacing it away from the side of the vehicle, and then I've laid everything out how it's supposed to be installed. So as I go, I can just get going. So we're gonna work through this install and see how it goes. Look for any of the gotchas, see how long it takes, and hopefully, if you decide you want to buy one of these, this install video helps make it easier for you to get it in the vehicle. All right, so when I was talking about getting tools ready, I got in the vehicle. The other tool you're going to need, 10mm socket. You got a couple of 10 mil bolts you got to get out, so make sure you get that. All right, so first step, I'm going to start on the driver's side of the vehicle. Some smaller flathead screwdriver, pop the plastic cap off. That baby wants to fly. Right here, 10 mil, or these are also set up as Phillips, so you could just use a Phillips screwdriver. See how easy that was? Power tools for a reason. Okay, so that bolt we're not going to need. Okay, you got 2 spacers that come with the kit. You can see one has shape to it and is also not as long. And you got one that is just straight cylinder and long. The straight cylinder and long goes towards the front of the vehicle in the one we just took apart. So just crank that thing in. Get it hand tight. Okay, back here there's this cargo hook for the net. To the left, turn it towards the back of the vehicle and pull it out. And this is just a Phillips screw inside of here as well. There we go. And you're not going to need that one anymore. Take this with, the reason it has this offset shape is to fit in the hole of that plastic compartment. The locking component for your cargo net. So don't pull that out, because if you ever want to take this out and go back to your cargo net, you're gonna need that. I save all this stuff in a baggie. Clearly you don't have to. You can just do whatever you want with it all. The other thing you want to do while you're in this part of the is pop that open. 10 mil, take this off. Simple as that, okay? save this bolt. I'm gonna stick it right here in the tray. You are gonna use it when you put their parts back on. I am not gonna reuse this. I like what they said, buy the D-rings from Toyota. It's got that rubber system, and so it's not gonna rattle, so I'm gonna order those and get them put in later. So now that that's done, I'm gonna go ahead and jump to the other side real quick and take care of it. All the parts that I will not be using, now is a good time to go ahead and put those in a baggie for later. And right now, let's go build some panels. This is where we get started putting the panels together. I'm gonna get both panels ready. I need to estimate panel height for the shelf. So I'll go over to the vehicle here in a minute and work on that. The first thing I'll do is put the panels together. The reason I want to estimate the height is when it's time to put that little bracket on right there, you need to know your shelf height. And I don't want mine all the way at the top. I'd actually like mine down some. We are gonna use it mountain bike shoes, all kinds of stuff. We know the dog's height, so that's really the most important part. And so I'll work through all that, making sure the dog has some headroom and can sort of chill in there. And this is more about getting gear above the dog than, we have a big Tundra that does all the camping. So this is, my wife takes this, she mountain bikes, she does all kinds of stuff. So this is about giving her better storage, so stuff's not in a tote in the back seat anymore, and giving her a way to put everything away, a shovel, things that she might need, a way to throw ski gear up there, and the dog still can be hanging out in the back. So that's what this build, this is why we're putting these in. So everybody will have a different reason, but thought I'd share kind of the why real quick. So one of the things, you're gonna want the bolt always facing towards you when you're going to install, because it will be much easier to stick a wrench through and behind the panels than it is going to be to stick a hex back there and tighten anything. So make sure nuts on the back side, bolts on the front side, and that'll help you with the process. And on, it looks like on all this, bolts and washers both sides. Everything is a nylock. Because it's a nylock, you're not gonna have, hopefully, if they're good nylocks, you're not gonna have loosening problems, okay? All right. So slide your bolt through. The way I set these up, from what I can tell, looking at all their videos, the triangulated portion towards the front of the vehicle. The bigger square portion towards the rear of the vehicle. Washer on the back. Nylock. Just set it in place. Do the same thing. It's all stainless hardware. Looks like it's decent quality. We'll find out over time. Some of the stuff that I get, people say is stainless. It's not. I mean, stainless has quality also, so that will matter. You can, if you can tell here, as you put this together, there's a good amount of adjustment. So I'm going to leave a lot of stuff fairly loose, so that when I go to mount it, I can move everything around until I'm happy with it. All right. So now that that's sort of laying in place, we are going to do the same thing here and put this heavier duty bracket on. I did not measure the metal thickness difference, but as long as we get nylock on there, I'm not worried about it at all. And we're gonna, so. You've got the same thing going on with this. It's got a lot of adjustment. On this one, the lower bolts are fixed bolt holes. So your only sliding is, that's fixed, so you're not getting a double slide there. So that panel is ready to that point. Let's go ahead and knock the other panel out. I got a bottle opener in their kit. You can't complain about that. That's pretty cool. That's what's going on there. we of course have to get that installed, because nothing like finishing up a nice day of mountain biking, cracking open a nice cold beer, and pretty cool. They provide a way to do that. Just tighten it up because it is where it is. See if we can fit this panel. They pre-install these longer bolts. They're specific. Do not take them out and mistake them for bolts that go in the kit anywhere. Again, I'll put everything here in these trays that stays in here. It's a good way to manage the system. We're gonna get this panel set up so I can figure out height. I see they like to use the upper, but this looks super adjustable to me, so I'm gonna work through that, figure out my panel height. First thing I want to do is just set it up in here. All right, there we go. We got some height set up right, and we got these two panels lined up. Oh, fumble finger and a bolt there. All right, got the tape measure. So we're gonna figure this out. So we need so I can get that set at 30, which is a couple more inches than I really ever need for the dog. And it's gonna give me about 10 inches of storage once it's in there. Double check, I used the right one. Third hole down. I hope that helped you if you're trying to figure out your shelf height. You know, I measured the dog fully standing up and gave him a couple inches above his head. Not here to try to trap the poor guy too low. Just maximize the complete use of the vehicle all the way around. Let's go install the shelf brackets. All right, so we're gonna get ready to get the shelves. The shelf portion is done. Like I said, so we can do this all at once. I didn't want to install the panels and pull it apart and reinstall the shelf system to show you 2 installs. I'd rather, if you're buying this as a kit, wouldn't you rather know how to install it as a kit? So the way they say this lines up is that the slant points towards the center of the panel. You can see these things have separate slants to them. So I'm going to gather that's what they mean. So we're going to go back to 3. Again, that's the height I want to set up. And we're going to put those together right there. So what we're going to do, we're going to take this panel right here. You're going to make sure all that lines up correctly, because redoing it all does not sound fun. On the money. That is always a good thing. Double check. There is no reason to put this whole thing together and then wish you had done it different. We have pre-prepared panels for shelving, everything. Test fitment was done. So one of the nice things about the way we handled this today is we are not going to run into a problem where we don't know what's going to happen. So make sure you go through that testing process. As you saw, it showed that I had made an error. I did not line those up center. I did not angle them forward, and it made a big deal to do so. All right, let's get ready to put this whole thing in. Okay, right now we're going to throw these panels in, get them mostly aligned, and get them sort of snugged up. I'm not going to tighten everything yet because I want to make sure once I put the shelf in that all of that is aligned, not hitting anything. So you'll see that these get snugged up. They loosen pretty easy for alignment, so don't worry about it too much. Now you can get this upper bolt tight because it is not going anywhere. All right, so both these panels, they're in, they're ready, and now I'm gonna work on building the shelf. All right, so now it's time to put the shelf together that's gonna go in there. The As you can see, I've got all my Allen bolts with washers, everything separated, ready to go. I've got everything laid out. This center panel actually is raised. That's how you know it's your center panel. Plus it doesn't have the angled ends. It goes on top, okay? So the way they set that up, it'll sit on top of those two because the brackets will sit on the bottom of these, so it helps give it support. So the first thing we're gonna do is get these going and get these two started and lined up and get ready to put it together. I'm gonna get everything sort of lightly snugged up. The last thing I want is to be doing all this again. Now the two long bolts you're gonna need when you get to a place where three pieces come together. That'll happen twice. It'll happen once. It'll happen once on this passenger side. So this end starts in the passenger side, and it'll happen once on the driver's when you put on from the driver's side. So one of the long bolts you're going to install now, one of the long bolts you're going to install later. Okay, what you can see right here, you've got this panel, the middle panel, and this bolt hole, the fourth one in the straight line in the back. That's your long bolt. There are these two brackets like this. This is your front bracket. It's what's going to hold these two panels. There's 4 bolt holes across the front of this panel. I'll take pictures of some of that stuff. You're just going to go ahead and install that right now. Once you get this installed, you can go ahead and tighten the bolts up on this because your shelf will be lined up. You should have this center bracket left over and one of these left over. They go on at the end of the installation. They're what connected inside in the center when you put the left and right panel together in the vehicle. So what you can tell the lineup is there's a set of, see these? The Baja Designs, they left these on each side so you could put in their Baja Designs dome lights. So if you line those up perfectly, you got it. You know you got it right. Okay, that shelf, everything's still lined up. It's built, it's ready to go. This one, all we're gonna do is get these 3 put together so we can start putting this inside of the vehicle. So on this one, when you set it up, you're going to want to line it up really good. Again, you've got if you can see that on camera, you line it up, it lines up. You want to leave this one because the 3rd bolt goes in it, so you only want those 2 bolts in. Now, let's get some bolts in the vehicle, since that's where all the rest of this will get done. I'm splitting these up half and half in those bins, or speculatively half and half. I did keep the long bolt out. I do not feel like figuring out which one it is. And let's get these set up in the vehicle. All right, so my wife's come to help with her own vehicle. She's the one getting the shelf, dog storage, skis, mountain bike stuff. She's the one who was tired of having everything stored in her back seat when she was out playing in the woods. So she's gonna help get this next part done. So, all right, here's how it works. The longer 2 sections, we'll slide it up on top of this shelf mount. I've got everything sort of loose up top, so as we need, we can adjust later. Once that's in, you can go ahead and jump in. You're gonna basically sit under it. She's nice and short for this project. And you're gonna hold it while I get this one set up. and then I need to get some bolts in place so that it can stay, okay?
Okay.
So your job is going to be making sure this doesn't fall on my head when we get going.
Okay.
Awesome. All right, go ahead and climb in there. Where your fingers are on this edge, I'm gonna need to sit stuff. Here I come. I took the lighter edge. I gotta make sure I do not hit her arm. If you cannot see it, she had quite the injury.
Oh, Can we hold back here?
Yeah, if you can, that would be spectacular. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna let go. It's on you. All right. This is the beauty of having a helper. Now I can focus on just getting things in place real quick. All right, so she's holding it in place, and I'm gonna, this beauty of putting this front bracket in is like we talked about on the other side. Once the front bracket, at least two are in, it is aligned. That's a big deal. Makes things a lot easier. It really, between that and those four in the back, align this thing and make probably the biggest difference in how it all works. All right, thanks, babe.
Welcome.
She's tacked in, and I think that's a good thing right now. But before I go any further, I think we should see if the dog fits. Well, I say we had quite a bit of room.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not looking at his height if he wants to look up. Yep, we couldn't go down one, wouldn't work. The dog fits good, the measurements were on the money. All right, come on down. Perfect. So that little dog test worked out really good. Now let's get to tightening bolts. All right, so it's installed. It looks really good. As you saw, the dog fit. One thing I'd have done different, the bracket that mounts behind on the panel, the bracket that mounts to the roof of the vehicle, I would have tightened those two bolts. They were a little tricky, doable, but a little tricky. So next time I'd tighten those. And if you had to adjust them, I'd worry about it. But since I didn't have to, I should have just tightened them. This shelf is stout. The whole system is stout. I'm super impressed with this. I do think that a lot of these bolts don't quite make enough nylock, so I may be replacing them all with slightly longer bolts. That is something that I experienced with a Rago product on the bed stiffeners. I'm not sure why in the test fit they don't make sure that the bolts at least make it through all the nylock and that a thread or two is sticking out, at least one thread. That is the better way to do it. So, but other than that, the thing is together, it is in. It's a little time consuming. I would say all in all, give yourself an hour to get this whole thing done, maybe two, depending what your skill set is, but don't plan on a quick 30-minute install by any means. I was about an hour and 10 minutes, and that was doing some setup and things like that. So a pretty normal install for a product like this. I hope this video helped. Getting this put together all at once, I think, is better than molly panels, then going back, then shelf. So if you're thinking about doing this, this video will help you just install it all at once. And again, this can install a little lower. We have great clearance for things up here. Mountain bike shoes, all that stuff is gonna fit really well. And then the dog fit fantastic. So nice product, really cool add-on to this vehicle. My wife is gonna be super happy. Thanks for watching the video, and I hope to see you out on the trails.